Hi, my name is Jayoza. I teach, mentor, and coach people on public speaking so they win with their speeches, whether it's one on one in a job interview, or at a business meeting in front of a small group, or at a conference in front of a large audience. What I want to talk about is people who speak professionally. Recently, I was listening to a podcast where these two professional speakers were discussing that when you give a particular speech at one event, should you take that same speech and give it to an audience at another event? And both of them were in agreement saying, yes, that's what you should do. I was thinking about this and I said, is that really a good idea today? And I don't know if it is. I think it's probably not. If you are going to do that, you should at least mention it. And the reason for this is YouTube. When you're giving a speech, it's being recorded, either by the people at the event or somebody using a smartphone, and they're going to put it on YouTube. So when you decide to speak at another event, obviously some people are going to go on YouTube and see if you have given a speech recently and want to do some due diligence. And then when they're at the event and you end up giving an identical speech, I think people will feel like they got ripped off. May think you're lazy. There was nothing fresh about the speech. So I am not so sure that today it's a good idea for you to give an identical speech at all the events you're attending, if you're on a book tour or whatever, because people will take a look at YouTube, and if they see nothing different, then they're wondering, like, what are you really bringing to the table if you gave the same speech? Because today when you give a speech, it's public, it's out there on the YouTube. The question is, how do you prevent that from happening? I mean, what do you do about that? Do you just be upfront and saying, hey, by the way, this is my canned speech that I'm going to give, that I've been giving at all the places, and then I'll do Q&A. You have to kind of let the audience know that the speech you're giving is not the first time you're giving this, because otherwise you're kind of fooling the audience. And many professionals do that. They don't divulge that this speech has already been given and I'm going to take 80% of it and then I'm going to add some 10% of it. And the reason I say this is that I think the bar when it comes to public speaking is really low, which is not the case when it's a written material. And I'm not sure that should be the case, especially if you're a professional speaker getting paid. If you're getting paid, you got to reveal all this information as much as possible, that this is my stump speech or whatever for a book tour speech or whatever that you're doing. Especially if you're getting paid, even if you're not getting paid, you should do it, because you couldn't get away with this in writing. If you wrote something and you're taking that and adopting it in a different publication, you have to mention that. Otherwise, that's called plagiarism. So I thought about this, and I think that with YouTube today, it is probably a good idea to mention something about it. Because otherwise, what could potentially happen is that if somebody goes on YouTube and sees the same speech and they see no difference, they're going to think you're either lazy or that you're just not that creative. And it could potentially hurt your message. So I think to avoid all that, just mention it. And I don't think people would care. At least they would now know, yeah, you've given the speech and you like it, but The Q&A is where you're going to be different. The Q&A is going to be dependent on the questions that are asked. But this is something that I thought about, and I thought I'd share it with you to see what you think about it. So let me know what you think. Should you basically give an identical speech from place to place and mention it, or don't even mention it and hopefully nobody will even care? What do you think? Thank you for watching, and let me know.